and a warm welcome to all attendees joining today's webinar, which is titled Future-Proof Your Reporting Platform, Migrate from Oracle Reports to Jaspersoft. We are very happy to offer you this webinar in the close cooperation of Jaspersoft and PITS. My name is Sascha Sander. I'm heading global sales at PITS, and it's a great pleasure for me to be your host today and take you through a quick tour through today's session. Well, we realize that everybody is very, very busy at these times, and we are very happy that you can join this session and that you give us an hour of your time today. Well, the Oracle Reports migration we will talk about today has gained a lot of interest and attention over the past month. And there's a topic on many people's minds. So what to do with my Oracle reports that my organization relies heavily on. We see that how important this challenge is, and we are really talking about that today. And we will demonstrate how to ease the migration from Oracle reports to Jasper reports, as this is an excellent option of replacing your Oracle reports. So I can tell you this will be a great webinar filled with great content. And that said, we have lined great speakers for you today. So first of all, this is Thomas Tipken, Senior Solutions Engineer, Jaspersoft. Thomas, I trust that you can hear us very well. Yes, yes.
I can, yes. Thank you for being
here. Great having you with us. And Stefan LaRocca, my dear colleague, heading business development at PITS. Stefan, you can hear us as well.
Wonderful. Thank you for getting invited. I'm looking forward to a brilliant presentation.
That's really great. So with these gents today, just to let you know, this will be a live session, live presentation, no pre-recording or recording, as you see here. Will be an interesting discussion, and we have prepared some great topics for you. So let's move forward with the agenda that you see here, the topic. So Stefan will start his demo with some assumptions and the status about Oracle reports before presenting and talking about the PITS reports to Jasper modeler. We will do this on a demo based. We will migrate from Oracle reports to Jaspersoft. So you will see the process. You will identify an Oracle report going through this modernization and migration. After that, Thomas will take over directly, and based on the migrated reports that we generate here, he will demo the steps within Jaspersoft. So really to provide the full picture here for all of you today. So finally, after that, I will take the opportunity to close with a very quick introduction of some services and solutions we offer for organizations looking for a migration of their reports to Jasper reports, and showing and developing a roadmap for replacing the existing reports in Jaspersoft technology. Just to let you know, within the session, we also run a few polls, and really appreciate already at this stage your valuable participation. It's always important. We see that to know what drives you, what drives your organization, also around the topic of reports modernization. And it's always very helpful for the presenters to understand at what status you are, but also for other attendees to see where other organizations are on the level. So we provide the result of these polls directly in the session as well. Our target is really to provide the best information possible to ensure that the time is well spent for all of you. Okay, before we start, just a quick technical information. So to minimize sound problems, other than presenters' microphones are set on mute during the presentation, of course, all attendees, you will have the possibility to ask your questions by chat on any dedicated topics that might come up during the presentation. So therefore, please use the chat feature at the GoToWebMeeting. You should see it on the bar of this application. And so please feel free, log in all your questions during the presentation to be discussed and answered in the Q&A session. So we have scheduled time here at the end of our presentation. So let's kick off and warm up probably with a first poll before starting with Stefan's part. And let's see if I can start it here. Let's check it. So not yet, probably. I can't see that. Casey, if you can open the first poll, I really appreciate. Yes, thank you. So the first question would be about, do you already have plans to replace Oracle reports? Just put the button here. There are some that really have the plans already prepared within the next short 6 months time frame. The one or the other probably has some evaluation to be planned there within the next 12 months. Or yes, some of you just collect some information about that. No plans yet. Okay, thank you very much. And ideally, we can stop this and we can share the results. Okay, everybody sees the result already? Okay, so great. So you see 15% already of all attendees are already planning some kind of modernization here, especially replacing the Oracle reports within the next 6 months. There's a really amount of attendees, more than 30%, to have a plan at least within the next year in the 2025 to get a replacement of the Oracle reports to Jasper reports. And yes, there are some attendees that have no plans yet. So ideally, joining the session today, we will emphasize and give you some more hints, some more information so that your plans ideally come true sooner than later. Okay, thank you very much for joining this session. And at this stage, Stefan, I'd like to hand over to you. And I stop my sharing. Bear with me. It's up to you, Stefan. It's your stage. You're still muted, Stefan.
Okay, so now I'm with you, and
Yes.
you should see my slides.
Yes, we do.
Okay, wonderful. So for a first introduction or motivation into that topic, on Sasha already mentioned, the Oracle reports is something when discussed with a customer, I got the feeling they could not without Oracle reports, but they could not with Oracle reports. So it's a little bit captured in a scenario where you have a lot of investment taken in the past decades, and now the question is how to go on. From Oracle reports or from Oracle itself, there's a clear direction to go. So 3 years ago, there was the last Oracle report statement of direction, which mentioned that the Oracle reports version 10G, released in 2025, was the last release which really has some new functionalities and features. So we live in the Oracle reports ecosystem since 20 years without any kind of new feature. And the last statement or the latest statement from Oracle this year was that they kicked out Oracle reports out of the Oracle eBusiness suite itself. So that is, everybody knows, I believe, this Oracle eBusiness suite, which was based long time ago on the same Fusion middleware stack, Oracle Forms, Oracle Reports. So they decide to no longer support and use Oracle Report in that own suite. So I think that is another point, another information for all of us to take the opportunity to see if there's any better reporting engine out there, which could be used for my reporting task. And I believe with Jaspersoft, we've found a very brilliant successor and part where we could go into as a reporting engine. So, but then is the question, oh, what does this mean for me as a company? So not one and the report is like the other. There are differences in kind of implementation. So very first information on your personal landscape is necessary to know what are the steps to go with my Oracle report. So where should I leave, and what is the scenario where I could benefit from. This is covered in our product with a brilliant analysis capability. So you see a live, or we see later on a live presentation. This is a screenshot out of an analysis from 1,800 reports. And you see that the effort calculation is one of the most important part. Even if we have a brilliant product to help you going from Oracle reports to Jaspersoft, it's not a task you could do overnight. So there will be manual effort needed. And this depends on the way you implement in the past an Oracle report. So we could calculate that in the first phase and see where are potential obstacles, which may increase manual effort afterwards. And where could you also improve due to new technologies? So Jaspersoft provide you with some kind of inheritance and reusability, which was not given in Oracle reports. So it's not only a migration from one report engine to the other one, it's also about improving and using the best practice approach from the target technology. While touching each of your reports, it's also a good candidate to improve the quality of your reports. So you may have different developers working on your reports. You have made different CIs in the past, and you could not ensure that every report followed the same layout principles. But it's a good possibility for us during a migration to harmonize the usage of fonts of your language inside the reports, or for using format mask. So all of these could be improved during the migration step. And if there are some candidates, yes or no, we will figure out that during the analyze. Last but not least, there are a couple of obstacles which don't have a one-to-one replacement in Jasper. Let's assume you use some SRW packages for writing a text file beside printing a PDF document, or you just try to use some dynamic SQL statements, or you have some printer tray commands inside your Oracle reports. There's no one-to-one replacement. There are solutions, but the best way is to identify them first before we even start with a project of migration, to see what is the best solution for your specific task. So there are some of those possibilities, improvements, and obstacles, but there are also pain points you may have with your Oracle reports by now. So, and that is a question addressing to you, dear audience. What is in your part your specific pain points? There may be some. So we talk to customers which lose their last Oracle reports developer, and it's really hard to keep that know-how in-house for Oracle reports. Perhaps it's about you want to improve your capabilities with reporting with some new functionalities like dashboards, interactive reports, and that is not possible with Oracle reports. Or you are stuck in some bugs and limitations due to limited updates from Oracle. So you want to go ahead, but there is no new functionalities or no bug fixes provided. And but you're maybe unsecure. You want to go to another architecture, but you don't know how much effort it will be. Or you are stuck in complex report development. So you want to change your reports, but there is no skill, no capabilities for doing that. Perhaps you may have performance issues with larger data sets, and you don't know how to improve them in your Oracle report landscape, or you want to integrate reports in some other architectures and some other tools, front-end scenarios, and you don't know how to do that. So that is a good point for creating another poll to see what is your specific requirements. So let's try to start this. Casey, may I ask you to start the second poll, perhaps? Wonderful, thank you very much. So let's see. Beside this, if you have some pain points which are not listed in that checkbox, please use the chat functionality or the Q&A session Q&A functionality to address your own specific pain points. I try to catch them up and try to see if we could answer them or address some how-tos during the next minutes. So wonderful. It's a broad range of different scenarios. So you may have very complex reports. You may miss some functionalities. I think that is a good field for Thomas later on to address some of the other cool functionalities in Jaspersoft. I think we have a brilliant mixture of all of them, so I don't know how to focus on. So thank you for your response. Casey, thank you for supporting me with this poll. Let's go ahead and do some next steps. So you see the methodology we try to drive through reports to a Jasper migration. As I said in the beginning, the first part is the analysis, because not one report environment looks like the other. Everybody has his own principle of reusing Oracle reports, his own obstacle. So we start with an analysis to see what is your really starting point. Before we go into the migration, there's a good point to clean up the reports. We will see there are scenarios where dead code and redundancy available in the Oracle reports, and it's a good part to remove those kind of redundancy to ease the maintainability of your Oracle reports. Especially all of our customers use heavily some kind of before report trigger, after report trigger to prepare the data, to clean up the data, to validate the parameters, etc. That is a brilliant point, as long as you stay with the Oracle database, to move that into the database to make it reusable, even all for Jasper reports in the same way. So business logic to database is one additional step in the preparation phase to save all this invest inside these PL SQL logic. Then we step into the architecture phase. In the architecture phase, the major decision is how you want to reuse some components in Jaspersoft. Let's assume one of our customers want to have a common header and footer in all of those reports. Other ones like to have a reusable logging functionality or security capabilities. These could be discussed before we even start generating the first report, because then we make them inside like a blueprint, like a pattern, to make it reusable, so that your reports afterwards look more harmonized than before in Oracle reports. Then inside the migration step, the magic thing happens. So we migrate everything which is available in Oracle reports to a jar XML file, which then is the starting point for the manual phase, the fine-tuning phase. We don't let you be alone in that fine-tuning phase. You will see we create a log file, a log document, where everything is reported, what you have to do to achieve the same functionality like before. As I said in the beginning, we could not migrate everything because there are some excuses, but you see what's left. So that is what we do in the fine-tuning phase. Last but not least, there's a good possibility, because you have a really standalone jar XML file, which don't consist of any proprietary code from our tool. So it's in the same way as Thomas create that report from scratch. That is what we provide to you. So it's a good possibility to enhance those kind of reports with new functionalities which are not available in Oracle reports. Last but not least, we try to help you in the integration and test phase. So the testing phase could be some boring when you migrate that these kind of 1,000+ reports, and you want to see if the PDF documents, at least with the numbers and filter criteria and layout, look similar. So running each and every report by hand, one after the other, could be very time consuming. So we provide you with a tool that helps you to create automatically, based on your tracked and locked scenarios, the Oracle report before and the Jasper report afterwards, so that you job is really focusing on differences between the Oracle report and the Jasper report inside the layout to figure out problems very early. Okay, so it's time for a demo, but before we will step into the demo, I want to mention what it's not used, or what you won't see in the demo, because otherwise I could talk hours. So what we're not showing is how to move PL/SQL logic into database. So that is a part which is available, but not part of the live demo. Same is for cleaning up the code for dead code and invisible objects. So even that is not part of the demo, as long as we don't talk about how to refactor huge SQL statements. That is an interesting topic and a really necessary topic, because a lot of invest in your Oracle reports may be in the SQL statements. I saw reports which has SQL statements more than 100 lines of code, very mass SQL statements. So there's no problem to migrate them one-to-one to Jasper, but it's a good part or a good opportunity to think about if that is really the best case. So we could try to think about making them available from database perspective so that you can make them reuse for other tools as well. We could create table-based functions which do all the calculation you have in reports in database side and provide a really easy interface from Jaspersoft with a very small select statement to fetch the data out of the database. So that is a general pattern we discussed before. So if you made up your mind what is your best approach, we will do these kind of business logic to database refactoring before we start with the migration to Jasper. Okay, so then let's go. I stop my sharing over here. And you should see a web interface with my application from these 1,800 reports we analyze. I don't want to pick only a couple of those. So in the preparation phase, one of the really interesting point is that you see that we have some things to prepare over here. So there are more than 20,000 program units which could be moved to database before we rewrite or migrate them to Jasper. The most interesting part is the hidden fields. So we have a lot of customers who maintain their reports over years, over decades. And you see that they decide to not show any objects which is no longer used. So see over here, there's a format trigger, and the format trigger itself come along with a return false only. So that object itself is no longer visible, whatever has happened. And when the trigger present these information to me, all the child objects from them are also no longer usable. So we could remove them, and that is a huge time saving we could do. Same as just take a look at the SRW package. So we analyze over the entire application for all the reports, which kind of SRW packages are used to see if there is any obstacle. So this customer is happy enough because there are no critical SRW package calls. Everything is taken care about format mask, text color, etc. So everything is really usable in Jaspersoft as well. So if we see some tray commands or some dynamic SQL statement, etc., that may cause some issues. Last but not least, as a sample, we take care about the hard-coded strings inside the application. Why should we do that? There are two reasons. We have all of them available in our repository, so it's a good opportunity to do a spell check to see if everything is written correctly. So you see over here in the first row, we have 13 times the sentence and only one time the other sentence where an additional space in between this. So we could go back to the developer or key user and ask which kind of spelling we should use. Is it the typo or could we correct them? And on the other side, if we want to use multi-language inside my Oracle reports, which is a good choice to do that, and it's more necessary this day rather than 20 years before, we have the possibility to extract all those hard-coded strings in the layout to property bundles, which could be reused inside Jaspersoft. So you see our analysis phase take really a deep inside view of all your reports. But now let's pick up a report. We do a very, very small one just to see a total walkthrough. So the demo report itself is based on a sample Oracle order entry sample So we have an internal invoice with a couple of calculations and conditional formatting or conditional hide and show values with a repeating frame. But we see also we made a mistake. You see that this font may be different from the other ones. So the developer picked up the wrong font over here. We also have a parameter which is given, so I could do the same report for the USA and see different values from a different record set. How could we migrate them to Jaspersoft? First of all, inside we have a product in which we load all the objects which belong to the Oracle Reports migration. That is not only all the reports, it may be also libraries and database objects to ensure a complete picture of your application. For this report, then we do assume we do all the cleaning before, we do all the business logic to database before, and then we come to a point where we said everything is set up and brilliant, so we could start with the migration. Before we could do, we have some Jasper options to decide. You see all different kind of format mask which are used in all my reports, and I could decide what should be the target format mask in Jaspersoft. If you don't override that, we take the same as in Oracle reports, but you can harmonize them. I saw customers that have tons of different date formats, more than 30 of those. So I don't believe that it's really brilliant to have so much different date formats in my layout. So you could harmonize and bring them to 1, 2, 3 of those. And also you see the font option. You see that my used Calibri font is replaced to Helvetica, so that I have a harmonized layout for my Oracle or my Jasper report. Then we start with the Jasper report migration. So we pick up our report, and I like to do that with the possibility to create that with potential sub-reports. So what we see over here is the structure inside my Oracle report. So I could see my paper layout with my main section. Inside my body, I have my main frame and I have my repeating frame based on the name. And under those, I have different frames as well. Based on the sources, I could decide if I want to do a sub-report for my Jasper reports or not. So that may be influenced later on my maintainability, but also my reusability. So if I go back to my analysis, and you could see over here in the duplicate queries, my customer over here has one and the same query in over 400 different reports. So when it's the same data set, I assume it's the same layout, it may be the same repeating frame behind. So that is a good idea to extract that query into a separate sub-report to define it only once and reuse them over 400 times. So that is my possibility I have over here. So I could define my report as sub-report and make them as a separate JXML file. I do that in the first instance without, and click the Migrate button. We will come back to my original page, and you see that I have now the possibility to download my JXML file, and I download my text file. Let's start with the JXML file. When I download this, I could directly open that in my Jasper Studio and see the result. And you could see the layout is overtaken completely in the same way. So XY coordinates, repeating frames, styles, reports. And you could see that my short description over here now has the same font as the other one. So it's adjusted. But you could see what we overtake. So there's a query with the entire select statement, which is given. We adjust the parameter which is used to run the query. We also, we also take something like the conditional formatting. So when I pick up my text over here, this element, you see that the print when expression is overtaken from the format trigger, so that we also have these available. So that is a brilliant starting point, which could later be picked up by Thomas. But I want to emphasize that there is also a log file. So when I do these log file, I could download them in the same way in open. You see what gets generated. So I could overtake all hard-coded boilerplate text, all data items, all fields, everything is overtaken. What we not overtake are the report triggers, before report, after report, before parameter form, after parameter form, etc., because we assume that we migrate them to database first. So you won't see that logic inside the JXML file. We assume that later on in a package on the database side. But you also have directly, when I just point out, the manual adjustments which are needed. So you see there's a formula field for the cost, which is a simple calculation between price and quantity. We could overtake them, but we don't, because due to the reason I discussed before, what we should do with the select statement, because there are different alternatives. You could decide to do that inside directly the SQL statement. You could decide to migrate all SQL statements to database, to table-based functions, so that you could calculate them over there, or you could do that in Jasper as well. So that's your decision. You decide in the beginning of the project what to do. If we could migrate them to database, it's much more easier, and then all the columns are available. So that is what we do over here. So there are a lot of fancy things in the back end, but in the front end, it's really simple. One Oracle reports, one or multiple JXML files, and that's a good part to switch back to Thomas. But before you listen to him, there's one poll we like to ask you to let Thomas know which audience is listening to him. And that's the last poll. How is your knowledge round about Jaspersoft? Are you a newbie or an experienced developer or something in between? So Casey, may I ask you to run the last poll for this session so that Thomas has a brilliant starting point for his session?
Yeah, it's already running, so it's very impressive. Stefan. So a lot of insights generated for the overall. So it's really, really cool. I was very impressed. So really cool. See this the first time really in action on your screen. So really, really cool.
Okay. So yeah, wonderful. So then I stop my sharing and allow you to pick up.
Sure. Give me 1 second. A lot of dialogues going around right here backstage. Just have to get rid about the poll. So, and I will share my screen right now as well and put the poll aside. So we have some beginners of working with Jaspersoft. So that's good to hear. And we have also a handful of experts. So, but most of the audience is just pretty new to Jaspersoft, and that's good to know for me now, because we want to look a little bit more deeper into the next step. So I have to move some pictures around here. So what you will see right now is the Jaspersoft Studio you have seen already in the last part of the presentation. I just created my local project because I am now responsible to just make that report that was migrated to the JXML file into my Jaspersoft project. But first of all, we have to make a short walk around with the GUI, so you have to have a better understanding of what's going on here. So Jaspersoft Studio is an Eclipse-based desktop tool where you can create and test and migrate and deploy reports, but you have a complete independent environment with an own server in the back, so you can really test locally on your machine the migrated reports and create additional functionalities into the reports itself. So what we already see here is the same result, but not created on an Oracle database. I don't have an Oracle database. I migrated all the sample data into a Postgres database, so I have quite a bit different structure and less data. So, but what you have to do as the first step is, if you just want to pick up that migrated report, you will create a local project on Jaspersoft. This is one option. You can have also a database-driven repository. But in this case, I just take over the files from the migration, and I just executed that example with already the maintained version of it. So what have I done to really make that happen? So let's do the first step first. So on the left-hand side, what you see is the local project with the structure and all resources. We have also the repository itself from the Jaspersoft Studio is the underlying structure and repository that helps you to protect and execute the reports. You have scheduling functionalities, you have the possibilities of protecting it with self-service. You have the APIs to call the report templates from your application via REST calls or JavaScript APIs. And here we have the connection string to that. The first step that you have to do is, of course, you have to create for Jaspersoft is the connection to the data source. In this case, I have a data adapter already created. So let's look into that properties of that adapter. So it's very simple. You just have to select the JDBC driver. You have to upload the valid version of your Oracle system, or if you migrate to another database, you might pick something else. You need something like a connection string, a database name, and a user that is able to just connect to that database. And you click on test and you're fine after getting the success message. So now the system is set up to connect directly to the database, and we can test the migrated templates now just by some simple clicks that we have to do. So let's go a little bit further in the walk around. So in the middle, we see the interactive mode and the preview mode. We see also some debugging information below that examples. And on the right-hand side, we see the tools, the palettes, and on the bottom here, you will see in some seconds also some of the properties of the element that was selected. So let's change from the preview mode. So you already see I was able to generate that report very quickly. That's not a big thing. So let's go back to the design mode. And now on the left-hand side, I switch to the design mode to the outline, the logical structure of a Jaspersoft report. And as Stefan already talked about, so this report example is built as a report with a sub-report. So the main report that we are looking here is very unspectacular. We just have one option that will execute a second report, a sub-report that will have the input of the invoice that we want to present. So everything around, if this object here is designed to just control the page layout, and there's something about that in the properties page elements. So this is one-on-one just translated to a Jaspersoft code. So this element is very straightforward and very simple. So let's have a look at the more detailed element. That's the sub-report that you have already seen in the presentation, but just in one element of Jaspersoft. On the left-hand side, you see the whole structure and the outline. So here in that element is used the detail band. So each row of the selected data source will be presented row by row. So this is the reason why we have this kind of detailed report with multiple lines of each item. We see all the elements in frame as a group. So we have the total and the costs already, the calculation that you talk about. And we have, of course, titles and the fields from the address and all that stuff. Everything is clickable, and you will see the properties on the right-hand side. But again, first things first, let's look at the first element. And on the first element, you find the most important first thing in the data set and the query. So right mouse click on that highest level of the elements, will open up the editor. And for me, this is one of the most important tools, one of the two most important tools in Jaspersoft. Here we already have seen that there's no data connection coming out of the migration. So, but then you have to select the connection to your database. I will skip that right now because I don't have that Oracle connection. And then you will see here the system tables, and you see the navigation on the right-hand side. You see the original SQL. I'm not really an SQL specialist. I can also switch to the outline that shows me a structure of that element. So you see the logical structure of the generated and translated SQL. And of course, if multiple tables are in place, you can also see the diagram version of that data sources. All the elements have been picked and have been part of that selection. And one important thing already here, we also have the introduction of the first input that is required to execute this report. This input mostly comes from your applications via a REST call to bring, in this case, for example, at the SQL level, the input, which country should be executed. So this is just something like a prompt or a temporary prompt that is required. On the bottom, we see the list of all used elements of the fields and the interpretation of what kind of field it is. This is a string, timestamp, decimal, whatever. Of course, we can integrate and add more parameters if, for example, more dynamics should be added to that report, but this is something we mostly do at the second step, or if this is required and listed into that export file that explains what are the next steps. So, of course, here we can integrate some new of this parameters if needed, and we can, if we have the connection up and running, we can test the data in a preview. Okay. So second most important part of that, the concept of Jaspersoft is having dynamic elements into all of the objects inside a report template. And let's look at, for example, of this, the field name in this case. So the good thing is automatically everything is a dynamic text field from the Jaspersoft point of view. So there's no static text in this report. So every text element will be translated as a dynamic one. And in a dynamic text field, you always find the property expression. Expression means you have the capability to use complex formulas or just a one-by-one selection of part of the query. So let's click on that little button on the right-hand side of that expression. And now we will see the second most important tool inside of Jaspersoft. And this is a formula editor that is everywhere in the definition of that elements and fields and parts that are represented. So in this case, it's very simple. From that selection list is the original field just selected and will be displayed. That's a very simple thing. Keep in mind, if you have to change anything in maybe a migrated database or whatever, you might have different field names in your SQL statement. So you can just pick it from the list and just substitute it here in this kind of dialogues, very simple and easy. But of course, in this kind of expressions, you can do much more. You can have, for example, complex if-then-else statements. You can have string manipulation. You can build date, logical functions, whatever. And with that power, you are able to, for example, generate complex logical dynamic into that field. So for example, if you are in your main report and you pick and select the sub-report itself, the sub-report selection itself, which element can be used or reused. We had that statement just some minutes before. Reuse elements, that's a big thing in that kind of migration project. Of course, we can link to a static report, but we can also have a dynamic on that. And maybe this statement is already now a static link to it, a second template, but it can be also a dynamic part of your query so that you can have, if selection A, B, C is done, you can have a different sub-select or sub-report linked to your template in that case. So it's extremely powerful. You can do data-driven stuff without any problem. So I'm just switching to my already maintained version of that report. And here you might see that we have in the dataset and query, I'm using a different kind of SQL. I'm sorry, I'm just doing a very stupid one, select star from Oracle. And here now we are able to get a preview of the data. So this is the data coming back from my very flat version of that table. And here we are now able to just execute and preview that report. And of course, we have this kind of parameter inside of the query already. We have to make sure that the information is given, and in this case, it's just USA as a parameter. And we see only the subset of that report. That is the part that needs to be integrated into that as a sub-report into the main report. And if we go back to the first step, we can now preview the report itself, and we will see that those elements have been combined and executed with more or less the same structure. And of course, from this step, you can now deploy that into your server. There you will have an assist for that. It's really very straightforward. You just click one of the buttons, select the server target, and then you select the structure of that project. And it's sleeping a little bit. Come on, carry on. So it's just a folder structure. You just select the part of the repository and you deploy that report with all the resources. Everything has been done automatically for you. And after that, it's ready to be called by the REST APIs and everything else that Jaspersoft will provide to projects it will be now discussed and shown in a little bit of PowerPoint style. So we have seen the studio already with all the details here as a reminder. The template itself, and I'm always very happy to show the original and the Jaspersoft version. In this case, we see some differences, and this is of course because of the fonts. It was one of the parts of the discussion before. So in the Oracle world, the migration was done with Helvetica. On the Jaspersoft side, there was no Helvetica, so we have just a fallback to the standard font. So that's the reason why there are some differences in being bold or not bold or so, but both of them look very, very similar. And let's look at what Jaspersoft else can provide to you, because just one thing about the history of Jaspersoft. So Jaspersoft was built to enable developers to add BI functionality and reporting functionality into applications more simple. We want to support developers of applications to bring information to everybody who's need them. So that's the main mission of us. And what we do very well is the pixel perfect reporting that you have seen coming from, this case, from Oracle to our environment. So it's more or less the same way. So every element has its own pixels and rules and whatever. But we also add self-service and ad hoc reporting capabilities. So end users can be enabled to just select in a drag and drop environment columns and generate their own ad hoc reports and create visualizations. They can create their own dashboards. They can combine content and all that stuff. But for the IT people, the most important thing is that, for example, the embedded analytics is one of the strengths of Jaspersoft as well. So mostly Jaspersoft is the invisible machine that generates the output formats. So we are called and controlled via APIs. We can be executed via REST or JavaScript APIs. All elements of our repository can be controlled by that. You can create users, you can create schedulers, you can create full-blown templates, data-driven if you like. And at the end, of course, the deployment is extremely flexible, so we can be deployed on whatever architecture is needed. So we are ready for cloud, we are on Unix, on Linux, or whatever you want. Docker or whatever. So that's also very flexible, and this is one of our key strengths, that we are fitting into projects that are industry standard very well. So very short overview what you might get to work with the Jaspersoft Commercial Edition. So the Jaspersoft Server editions come with a database-driven repository. They are built to be secured and manage the repository for end users and functionalities. And we enable on that level, if it's needed, with self-service capabilities. So next to that, we also provide a so-called microservice. So that's just the execution engine and the APIs, and the execution engine will generate tons of reports. So if you have the requirements to build thousands of reports in 1 hour, this might be the best option. Of course, we see them both next to each other on that screen, so you can combine that as well. And on the bottom, we see the foundation of all. The library itself is always part of all our editions. So this is how the reports will be rendered. And you have two options. You can use the Jaspersoft Studio on the desktop. This is the one that you have seen. And you can also control, maintain, and open your report templates in a web version of Jaspersoft if you have a Jaspersoft report server. So shortly, what is the Jaspersoft? How does it work? Of course, we connect to data sources, variations, a lot of relational databases, of course, but also big data queries. A lot of application developers love to use JSON output for displaying information into templates. This is very, very common. So there's a variety of data sources available. To generate content, what we have seen is the Jaspersoft Studio. We talked about the Web Studio as well. And we have for self-service the ad hoc designer and dashboard designer. So in the middle, we have that the server that controls everything, and we have deployment options, and the deployment options are a reporting portal that can be used, and you can take a system, put everything into smaller pieces and put it into your application. You can add us invisible into your application itself, and we have a very, very powerful scheduler. And of course, everything can be accessed via our APIs and very specific things that we support in our development environments is what I would highlight here is the ad hoc app designer and the dashboard designer for self-service people. So everything is just web-based, everything is a drag and drop environment. You can use a predefined layer to just create an access to the data sources. That might be something like a semantic layer with some pre-joins of tables. And you can also create kind of topics, what generates an individual query built by an expert with a temporary result that is in memory of the server. It's extremely powerful. And of course, in the dashboard designer, you can mix and merge the information you just created and have some interactivities with drill filtering and things like that. And finally, what are the key capabilities of the delivery parts? I just want to highlight one of them. We already talked for your application part about the APIs. This is the most powerful thing. You can really control everything. But I would just want to highlight one thing in the scheduler distribution area, and this is the kind of report bursting that we create. So you have your templates, your reports defined with input parameters that needs to be filled by execution. And you have to create hundreds of them, hundreds, thousands, whatever, masses of them. What we can do is we can combine a second query that just comes with the result set of each template that needs to be generated, and both of them can be combined. So we have a trigger list, and we have a job that creates scheduler for each of the templates with the content of that trigger list. And so you can generate dynamic data-driven reports to variations of email addresses, variations of FTP servers, variations of file system, whatever. And this allows you to just eliminate the need of generating hundreds of reports and pre-scheduling jobs. So you can do this all in one combined report bursting job with some triggers. I'm really, really excited about that functionality, and people coming from other BI systems love that functionality as well. So I'm talking too long, so I'm very sorry. So I have to take over to, I think,
Me, Sasha.
Sasha. Okay. I have to find the right button right now. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no rush.
Yep. One screen over the other. Stop. Now I'm stopped it. So I'm talking. So.
So you should see my screen again. Hopefully in this view. Okay, good. Thank you very much. No, gentlemen, thank you very much, Thomas and Stefan, for your presentation, really introducing and demonstrating these great capabilities on how to use Oracle Reports migration. A lot to talk about. I know that we are running and out of time, so we have to speed up a little bit, but I trust that all attendees really realize the potential benefits possible for their migration projects too. And that brings me to the starting options I emphasized already at the beginning, part of the agenda. Just a quick view from our side on these options. As I saw that, so there are newbies, there are Jasper experienced people there out there, some just starting. And also with PITs, we provide starting options on these different levels to jump in or to start a proper project. So we'd like to introduce this starting options that can depend on which stage of a possible modernization you are currently in. Are you already in a pre-selection stage, or do you already have decided on the target technology? Are there already a project plan planned and agreed, some technical decisions, team staffing, and much more. So there's a lot to think about in projects, and we have two options to step in, and we can support you ideally first with a reports to Jasper Analyze, as Stefan mentioned out in his session. That's an initial step on our modernization methodology, where we support customers with. The second one, it's a let's say a webinar special that we have prepared for you guys today. It's called One Step to Jasper. It's a workshop. So starting with the migration analysis, it's really for organizations that are already preparing the migration to Jasper, but need to get a clear picture on project requirements, on cost, on time overview, on a project plan, ideally on the entire application, on the entire report stack that you run, which is quite unique because we cover always the 100% view. So this assessment is really based on our product, on the repository, so the process that Stefan demoed, that is supported by our senior resources and architects. So if you are already at this stage, we can perfectly support you in the first step and the more important step, really, to start this project based on valid numbers, being able to evaluate project efforts and feasibility, meeting your technical capacity as well as budgetary plans. And the best thing is you will know about your project before you start your project, and you won't step into any trap or gap because all necessary steps are evaluated and calculated. So I just saw the number, the question of a benchmark. So how would you estimate a project in this kind, depending on complexity of my reports? I must say we do not estimate, we calculate, and the calculation gives you a really perfect first step for a successful project right from the beginning. This assessment is approx 2 weeks done by us. You see the link. You will provide we will provide more information about that, and yeah, in a follow-up email, you will receive this information again. And just to point out that we provide the deliveries, the result, the numbers. Stefan already showed as well the reports to Jasper Analyze's app. So you will get access to this application, including all the numbers that we achieved during this assessment, down to each single reports and the calculation to run the migration as we just demoed earlier before, but for the entire project. And something I would like to emphasize here really to you, to the audience today, because it's a webinar special tailored for attendees only. So to make your first step towards Jasper reports easier, it's rather for those organizations and teams that haven't yet so much experience in Jasper, but probably plan to move forward here. So this workshop is a really ideal starting point to achieve a first overview, similar to that what you saw here in the process, a bit more deeper, of course. It's a workshop day that we work on your report so that we agree on a dedicated Oracle report sample from the real world application. And you will see how the Oracle reports will be migrated to Jasper. What are the manual efforts left, the fine-tuning phase we go through together. There will be some preparation from our side with your reports in an analyze phase. And then we will run a one-day workshop together with you to get you familiar with the entire process again, based on your Oracle reports. There's also a possibility to sign up on our website, but we will share this information also afterwards. Okay, so having a quick look on your on our agenda and the time, I would rather go into the Q&A session. So Stefan, Thomas, if you unmute yourself, so that would be good because most of the questions, I suppose, are for you. I saw that a couple of questions already we have received during the session were answered. So Thomas, if you would like to step in the one or the other question that came in during the session. Moreover, we have a couple. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, a lot of questions coming in regarding of specific things, but yeah, some are just generic. Yeah. So mostly all the questions should be answered in the Q&A list from now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we can jump probably to some of the questions that came in also during the registration, if you like. I can show them and demo here then. And let's have a quick look. Also, what are the minimum technical requirements for Jaspersoft?
Yeah, that's a bit tricky question. So theoretically, we can start with a two-core system. The platform itself, we don't care, but we have to really make sure that we understand the requirement of that project correctly. So it depends a bit on the amount of users that should execute reports, the size of the reports, the amount of reports per day, per hour, per month. Is there a peak time? These are all factors that can maybe require a bit more resources on the system. Maybe if you have thousands of reports created every Monday morning and at 8 o'clock, something like that, you definitely need some more power behind that system. So we always need some kind of discovery workshop to figure out what is the best fit for a starting point for that. But technically, the minimum requirement is 2 cores.
Okay, thank you. So a question regarding integration in Oracle Forms on Linux platform. Who would like to answer and step in here?
So the integration of Oracle Forms is based on web service. So the Jasper server don't have to be on the same infrastructure like the Forms service. So we are addressing them in the same way as you may address Oracle reports or BI Analytics Publisher. So it's the web service call, and the server itself could be on any other operating system. So Linux on Forms on Linux is not an issue.
Okay, thank you. So there's a question on character mode possible. I think there's a similar one also. No, it's a print character-based report. So is character mode possible, or is it possible to print character-based reports like paychecks?
So from the during the migration, we changed these character XY coordinates to points, so which get recalculated. So at the end of the day, in Jaspersoft, we provide the report with exact XY coordinates. And as Thomas mentioned, Jaspersoft will print pixel perfect, so it will print the barcode or whatever you want in at exactly the point you decide.
Yeah.
So yes.
Okay, cool.
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah. Perfect. Another one, how easily can Oracle reports be replaced with a new tool? So it's more independent, but specifically in Oracle reports to Jasper, I think we demoed today. You demoed today. That's pretty good.
We
and
saw a process that is needed to think about what's all have done. So and that really makes sense.
Another question. Oh, so it's how easy it is to migrate Oracle reports to Jaspersoft. So this is more specific. So this is something we demo today as well. I understand. So that's really great. I think the audience should have seen it and understood, and ideally also with the starting point, as I mentioned, you are in best hands, let's say like this, if you start and considering your Oracle reports to being replaced by Jaspersoft as a perfect replacer of Oracle reports. Oh, more specific. So SRW built-in packages from Oracle reports.
So as I tried to address that inside the analysis presentation, some of them are straightforward, like changing font, format mask, background color, foreground color, everything that is possible. But there are some obstacles in these package itself, like changing the slot dimension or running dynamic SQL statements, which has to be reworked. There are some solutions available, but it really depends on the use case. So it could be something like printing printer code white on white on a PDF document is one of the possible solutions.
Okay, thank you, Stefan. So how can Jasper reports be integrated into our current system?
I assume the current system is Oracle Forms.
Let's
That's what I hope, what I assume. And if it's Oracle Forms, you know that Oracle Forms have a run report object package functionality or library function that could be reused / rewrite to use the same set of parameters and names of the GXML file to have this call available to the Jasper reports server or the Jaspersoft server.
Okay, and there's a last question here. How can we create a Jaspersoft dashboard to run the reports?
And the question is it just an Oracle Forms dashboard or is it a Jaspersoft dashboard? So it's on. So we have already this kind of repository overview parts in our server that can be called via our APIs that can be integrated. So you have more or less all the functionalities of the server inside your application there, and it could be white labeled. So you can take the whole list with all the functionalities or parts of it. So that's pretty straightforward, I guess. So it's built to be integrated into other applications. That's the key. So this is what we do every day.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. I have a look at the time. So we're really running out of time here in the session. So, but it's appreciate really all attendees still joining the session. So it seems really interested for all of you to get this question answered. So we know how important this topic is for all of you. But we have to close the session now. So anyway, for the next steps, definitely we will share in a follow-up mail with a link to the webinar recording so that you can replay or share with your colleagues that what you've seen today. We do not forget any questions, be assured, so that we will receive also the follow-up the entire Q&As. We will provide to you and remind to you, I appreciate really, check out the One Step to Jasper workshop that is definitely designed for you today. So based on the specific, specific pricing also for you and affordable budget, you can step in, you get such a lot of information and benefits out of that, as well as for the reports to Jasper analyzes more information on this link. And not to forget, there is a 30-day free trial Jaspersoft for Jaspersoft Commercial Edition available. Definitely was to check out, and a lot of benefits available for all of you today. And we will be more than happy if you will benefit from all of this. So that said, at this stage, let me thank you very much, Thomas. Stefan, for your great presentations. To all attendees, a big thank for your interest and time. And we all trust that the time was well spent, and we are really looking forward to meeting you. We would be happy to meet you in the one or the other project. If you come back with any questions, happy to support. So have a great day or a great evening, wherever you are. Goodbye and stay safe.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.